1-852.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
I wouldn't often quote Oprah Winfrey, but this quote really sums it all up. I feel that luck is preparation, meeting opportunity. That's what Oprah once said. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information that you won't want to miss. It's a live show. This week, we are talking about a number of things, including how to boost your LinkedIn profile. We're going to be talking about jobs in the railroad industry. We're going to be talking about a great community organization, and we're going to be talking with our good friend Bruce Leon of Tandem HR. You won't want to miss a minute of it, and we are taking your questions at 312-642-5600. So call in. Let us know what you think about the show. And at the end of the show, I'm going to be sharing tips with you about how to plan the perfect holiday party. It might be too late for this year, but you can never learn enough about how to do it right. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them at tandemhr.com or call 630-928-0510. Once again, Tandem HR, 630-928-0510. 0510. You can also email them, simplify@tandemhr.com. Great lineup this week. We're thrilled to kick it off with Spencer Moss from Spencer Connect Communications. He's going to be telling us a little bit about how to boost your LinkedIn profile and rise up to the top, which is something that Spencer does a lot of. Spencer, thanks for joining us on Get Down to Business. Welcome to the show.
Having me.
Of course. So, Spencer, I want to hear about what you do, but tell us a little bit about some of the success stories that you've had with boosting some of your clients' profiles. There must be some sort of tips or tricks that you can share with our listeners.
Well, there are a few. I think the one mistake a number of people make is that they build up their LinkedIn contacts and then do nothing with them. I've worked with two clients. In both cases, we went into their contacts. They found out who they wanted to keep in touch with and went into a business development program. One was for a good friend of yours, Dean Classman, and we had a lot of success with Dean in getting him meetings and appointments and generating new clients for his insurance business. I also did the same program for a private equity firm that was looking for companies to invest in, and we went into their contacts, and in reality, 2 or 3 times they had me pause because of the amount of response they were getting. And they were looking for 5 new companies to invest in, and they got an option of 20 companies to look at.
So, Spencer, what I'm hearing you say is that often you're helping your clients tell a story using the tools like LinkedIn. Tell us how some of our listeners might be able to use that model to share the story of what they're doing, to grow their database, to grow their connections, and actually have an ROI, actually get a phone call as a result of that.
It's real important to not only grow the story, but have qualitative proof of what you've done and what you've accomplished. So you need to be very clear, very, very precise, but at the same time, a mistake I see a lot of people make is that they write their story in third person. So it might say, Shalom Klein did this, and actually it should be, I did this, as a first person. Secondly, direct it towards the prospective clients, or if you're looking for a job, prospective employers or hiring agents, and tell them what you can do for them. How can you come through in what you're saying as far as in the summary section and the various jobs that you've held, and be very specific of about what you've accomplished.
So, Spencer, many of my colleagues believe that social media potentially is a replacement for the real in-person networking, for those cups of coffee like you and I have done in the past. What would you say to them?
Absolute mistake. The purpose of social media is to keep in touch and follow what your connections are, your friends on Facebook, your Twitter followers. but you have to meet face to face. It's that personal touch of shaking hands and looking someone in the eye and speaking with them. Typically, if I connect to someone who I may have met or seems like it'd be a good connection, then I want to meet with them. I want to find out what they're really all about, not just what's in their LinkedIn profile or on their Facebook page.
Interesting. And you mentioned Dean Classman, our good friend, our mutual friend, whose mantra is, always give, always give. And when he gets down, how do you tell a story like that through social media? Let's talk about LinkedIn specifically. LinkedIn is, as I always say, the Facebook for grown-ups. How do you tell a story like that? How do you give through LinkedIn?
Well, there are a couple of ways of doing it. I don't know it's as much a story, but one of the piece of advice I got from someone many years ago is that if you're meeting with someone, take a look at your contacts and see who would make a good introduction, not only for that contact, but for the person you're meeting with. And as you walk in and you're meeting with them, at the end of the meeting, say, I've got 3 or 4 people I think you should meet. I'll arrange to introduce you through what's called a virtual introduction, which is by email. And then suggest that they go on to LinkedIn and look at that person's profile and see what they've done so they can see what the connection is. So, part of what I do is, as I talk about to clients, I want to give them connections that are going to be good for their business, that they can work with, and at the same time, those connections that they've developed, turn those into clients. Once
again, we're talking with Spencer Moss about how to boost your LinkedIn profile to the top, how to use LinkedIn to, as you say, increase revenues by raising profiles. So, Spencer, LinkedIn is constantly changing, and in my opinion, that's not always a good thing. It's great to innovate, but sometimes they change things up, and not always are those changes for the best. What's your opinion about LinkedIn recommendations and endorsements?
Oh, endorsements! What a story! It started off as a good idea. It was called Skills and Expertise, and the one thing with LinkedIn is keywords. You've got to understand that when people are searching for someone that can help their business, they may go to the advanced search and put a keyword in, and if you don't have the right keywords into your profile, you won't be found. So you've got to be detailed. You've got to add those keywords. Endorsements, the problem is, it started off to give you a means of putting more keywords into your profile. Then they took it to the next step, which was, we'll let people endorse you for your skills and expertise. And then they took it to another level where you could recommend a skill that you hadn't thought of. Now, the problem is if they recommend a skill and they want to endorse you for that and you don't have that skill, but you go ahead and include it, that could get you in trouble. And that is if, you're being interviewed for a job and they say, I see you do this, and you really don't. Recommendations are very good. I would suggest that people, if they've got a good relationship with a client or someone they've worked with, that they go ahead and ask for a recommendation. It's not as threatening to an individual as far as recommending you for a job or recommending you for a loan or something like that. They see it as fairly innocuous, and so they're more willing to make that recommendation on LinkedIn.
And Spencer, back to you. Do you work with clients in all industries?
Well, I really specify. I mean, the one thing is to narrow down. So I've got it really into 4 categories. And one is I work with financial services firms. And this includes not only broker-dealers, but private equity, venture capital, accounting, banking. I work with B2B private corporations, really in any industry, and I can help them not only use their social media to build up their business, but also help them at trade shows. I work with law firms, and preferably the smaller law firms of 20 attorneys or less, and then IT and IT healthcare. And I do work with startups from time to time, and if they're real small and just getting off, occasionally it's time for a little pro bono work, which is always, good, makes me feel good, and helps them out.
That's great. Spencer, we're slowly running out of time. Last question, bit of advice for our listeners. Once you set up your LinkedIn profile, does it run on autopilot, or do you need to continue to edit and tweak it?
You need to continue and edit and tweak it. In fact, before you picked up the phone, I was doing that to mine. The one thing is that if you turn on, there's a section where you can turn on your changes that can be shown to your profile and to your contacts. As you make those changes, it reminds you that you're still there.
Great advice. So when you update your LinkedIn profile, your contacts, your connections will see those updates and will continue to be notified that you exist and that you're growing professionally. Spencer, we're running out of time. How can people reach you if they want to learn more about LinkedIn or, of course, boost their profile while increasing revenues?
Well, I would say two things. First, go to my profile on LinkedIn, Spencer, M-A-U-S, and they can email me at smaus@Spencer, SPENCER -connect, CONNECT.com.
We're just out of time. Spencer Moss, thanks for joining us. I will be boosting my LinkedIn profile. After the break, we're going to be talking about jobs in the railroad industry. You won't want to miss it. You're listening to Get Down to Business.